Hi, I'm Mark Stern. I'm the CEO and founder of Encompass Life and the host of the Encompassing Life Podcast. Today we have Patrice Gibson, and she is with Shining Hope Farms out of, where are you out of again? I just should remember now.
Charlotte, North Carolina area.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Mhm.
Did y'all have the flood and stuff up there as well?
No, not,
Y'all,
we're a little further east from where they were
where it all
affected.
occurred?
Certain areas in some of the other counties around us, but we were very fortunate.
Good for you. So, Patrice, she is the operator, the CEO
Executive director. Yeah.
of Shining Hope Farms, and she is equine therapy to work with people with all kinds of issues and a whole bunch of other things from what I understand. You have clinics as well.
We have a clinic at all of our locations.
All your locations. Wait a minute. So you have more than one farm?
We have 3 farms. Yep, we have 3 farms in and around Charlotte where we do therapies. Mhm.
So with 3 farms around Charlotte, Charlotte's probably doesn't promote have enough people to feed that. So you have people coming in from all over using your therapy.
Yeah, so we serve 18 counties in and around Charlotte, and we're the only one in the area doing what we're doing. And so people come from near and far. They come all the way from the South Carolina line to
So
access our services.
can you tell us a little bit about the techniques you guys use and the results associated with them?
Yeah, so we started out as a backyard therapeutic riding program, which there are a lot of great therapeutic riding barns out there. But very quickly, we started getting fragile children. And so we added the clinical component. And so that's where we started adding physical, occupational, speech therapies. And then after that, we ended up adding mental health. And so for our mounted sessions, we are primarily doing physical, occupational, and speech therapy. And we use the equine's movement as part of the treatment strategy. So we have a clinic at every single one of our locations, and they work in there, but then they also sometimes use, where applicable, the horse's movement, because the gait of a horse mimics the human walk. And so there are children that come to us in wheelchairs that can't walk, and they're not achieving functional gains in their normal clinical setting because their brain doesn't know what to do. But when you put them on the back of the horse and they feel the horse's movement, then when they go back in the clinic and try to do those same things, the brain suddenly knows, oh, this is what you're asking me to do. And so it teaches them how to walk, where previously there wasn't anything to teach them that feeling of movement.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How long does that take?
A session is an hour. Yeah, so it's
Well,
once a week for an hour,
no,
and it's based on a prescription.
yeah, well, no. What I'm saying is, so a kid comes in, say 4 years old, and hasn't been able to walk yet, and you put them on a horse. Do you see results after the first treatment, or how long?
It takes a little while, but I will tell you it's quick. In fact, a lot of children that will burn out in the clinical setting and they're hitting a wall, they're not achieving the functional gains that their therapist is looking for, coming to us within a few months, they will immediately see rapid changes, positive changes. Yeah, in
Wow,
fact, there was a little girl that came to us she came around kind of October timeframe, and by February, she was walking, holding her therapist hand. She was walking into the barn to get onto her horse. And when
wow.
she was in the clinic and she couldn't even stand on her own, let alone get on a treadmill. And by February, she was
What was
walking.
her age?
She was about 4, 5. Yeah.
Amazing. I bet your face just lights up too.
Oh my goodness. It's incredible. We get to watch miracles every day. We really do.
So cool.
Yeah.
And you said you work with fragile children. What do you quantify as fragile children?
Yeah, not a lot of core strength, not a lot of head control, just control, large motor movements just in general. So we immediately started getting children that needed a lot of assistance. And, in a normal clinical setting, you have a therapist and a patient, right? Well, with us, we have the clinician, and then we have the horse. And then we have a horse leader, and their job is to maintain that horse and make sure the horse does exactly what it's supposed to be doing in session. And then we have a sidewalker on the other side, which is a volunteer, and each one are holding on to that patient to keep, make sure that they're staying in
Right.
position.
All right.
Horse. Yeah.
Wow. So is your system very pricey to do, or how is it?
It is, we bill insurance. We do bill insurance to take the burden off of the family, but we became a nonprofit because the insurance reimbursements are not enough. The average horse, I'm sure being around horses in the past, they start at about $4,600 per horse just to maintain per year, and that's before they need metformin or they need other supplemental things as they age. And so it's a tremendous burden. So we became a nonprofit. We have fundraisers that we do. We have like an adopt a horse program where somebody can actually adopt the horse, take the burden off the family or off the cost, which would get transferred to the family. We don't charge families horse usage fees, and a lot of other programs similar to ours do that. That's the only way they can. And we
Right.
chose instead to take the burden completely off the family and fundraise.
How long does it take to train a horse to do what you're asking it to do?
And, a lot of them, they don't come necessarily with the skills, but they have to be appropriate for the program, right? So we aren't going to take necessarily an off the track, racehorse. That's not the type of horse we're looking for, but we are looking at their conformation and we're looking for specific characteristics. And then we will put them in a trial and train them. And then if they're good for the program, they're usually with us for the rest of their lives.
Beautiful. You said you also have a clinic. What services do you provide in your clinic?
Yeah, so it's, again, the horse is just one of the pieces of the treatment strategy. So they will still be utilizing everything that you'd see in a normal traditional clinic. We have all of those things. So we've got tables and, different apparatus and things in the clinic for them to utilize those. And then they will also sometimes get on the horse where applicable. But I will tell you, there are contraindications and some patients can't get on the horse. So some of them are clinic only. And so one of the unique things about us is, yes, we utilize the clinic space, but we also have the farm environment. And especially for our OT patients, but for all of them, the natural environment can be really beneficial. So we are Contigo nature-based trained therapist. And Contigo is a curriculum that helps with how do you utilize the natural environment to help achieve those same functional goals that you're looking for, from that referral from the pediatrician and that prescription. So it's interesting because you can't take the horse home with you. So while the horse is really beneficial in therapy while they're there, how does that translate to home? Because they can't take it home with them. However, the other things around the farm are things that they can teach mom and dad or their caregiver, and then take them home and replicate those same things at home and continue the work at home.
So, how long are you typically seeing patients? Over, I mean, like you said, like an hour appointment, but over the course of months, years?
It depends on the diagnosis. Honestly, it really depends on the diagnosis. Some of our diagnosis, they don't ever, like, let's say a child with cerebral palsy, they're never going to stop having that. But our goal is to get them to a place where they have better use over their limbs and are able to function and progress in life. Some of it is dictated by the prescription. Sometimes if there's still work that needs to be done, even though the prescription has expired, we can get another prescription to continue working on levels of goals. But sometimes if the pediatrician feels that they've accomplished the goals that they were looking for, then they don't renew that referral or that prescription. They don't issue a new prescription. What's interesting is we will find that just being around the horse can sometimes have therapeutic benefits, even a physiological response of self-regulation. And so while the doctor says they no longer need a clinical therapy, we will transition them into our adaptive riding, and then they can still do horseback riding through our adaptive riding and benefit from being around the horse and that self-regulation piece that transcends a prescription. So we have a lot of patients that do that. We have a lot of patients that age out once they're 18 and they're no longer eligible for the medical treatments under their insurance and their pediatrician, but we will switch them to AR as well. And that adaptive riding will allow them to continue as an adult, and we're able to still help them. So if we're looking at adults that might be on the autism spectrum, might have Down syndrome, and they may have been coming to us as a youth, but now they're an adult, they can still continue coming to us. And the adaptive riding helps with those diagnoses as well.
Gotcha. Or maybe someone bring them in as volunteers who can help other people. Do you get to that stage as well?
It depends on their level of
Right.
intellect, whether or not they're able to do that. Some of them are very high functioning. Yes, absolutely. And then if they're not, then they just continue to ride with us and they get to
Mm,
benefit from that.
awesome. So
Yeah.
cool. So how big are your farms typically?
Each one is a little bit different size, but they range anywhere from just under 20 acres, and then our largest one is actually 120 acres. So that one is more in a more of a rural community and has a lot of miles of trails and just a little different environment. They all kind of have their own personality.
Gotcha. So um, do y'all own the property or y'all rent or how do y'all operate?
So the home farm in Mount Holly was deeded off to the nonprofit. Paul and Melinda Kirkpatrick are who started our organization 23 years ago. And so
Mm,
they bought the house and the farm and the barns and everything. And then after it became an established nonprofit, they deeded that portion off. But they still live adjacent to the property. And then about 7 years later, we acquired the Charlotte location, which is where it all started. That's where Melinda and her daughters would go and volunteer. That was a therapeutic riding stable, and there was a nonprofit there.
mm.
And so we ended up being asked, would we be willing to bring our program over there? And so that property is actually owned, and it's part of a trust that is to be used for nonprofits. And so very similar, the other location, our third location is like.
Gotcha. And the benefactors who started this, did they have a special needs child or how
No,
where do they have their
it all
passion?
started for Melinda. So Melinda's nephew was severely and profoundly affected. Her father had a disability, so she really had a heart, because every state's a little different when it comes to special needs, and North Carolina is one of the costliest to raise a child with special needs. It's tremendous, the cost, and so she knew that, having seen that in her own family. And when they saw this program, their heart just went for it. They knew that this was something that could really help people, and that's part of why she also became a nonprofit, because she understood what it was like when you've got all these needs and these doctor's appointments and these bills and the burden that it puts on the family. And so we became a nonprofit to take that completely away and never have that burden rest on the family. So we take that burden on. We'll go and network with all the insurance companies. We're in network with all of them, but if we're not, we will go in network to take the burden off the family.
Gotcha. And you said when we were talking earlier, you said all the things in your background align perfectly for you what you're doing here.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I said that, you just went to a whole nother level of glow. So could you share?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, could you share a little bit about what that is
Well,
and what?
I mean, I think we all go through life, trying to figure out, what am I going to do? Where am I supposed to be? What difference am I supposed to make in the world? I think we all have those questions, and at times, and to have looked back over the last 5 years that I've been here, and see how every single job that I ever had, everything that I ever did, I'm using here, and that feels, it almost feels surreal. It's I think what everyone wants eventually. That's the goal, is to be able to really fully utilize their skills and be working in their strengths. But I think sometimes people don't necessarily find it. And so to have found it, it surprises me.
My greatest strength came from my weakness.
Sometimes it does.
You know what it was? I had a speech impediment as a kid. If I said a word incorrectly, I would get hit or yelled at. So my speech impediment turned into a stuttering issue. I stuttered for 50 years. Wasn't able to get in front of a group to speak. I would sweat through a shirt to speak for 3 minutes, and couldn't say the word love and couldn't say the word God. That was about 16 years ago. When I found the bones of this system, I went from a stutterer to clear speech in under 10 minutes and being able to speak in front of a group of people. And now I get up in front of people and speak. I speak about love and I speak about God and get up in front and deliver speeches. And that's when I came alive, when I started doing all those things I didn't think I ever could.
It's incredible.
It's fun, man. It's amazing how all this works together.
Yeah.
And which brings me, well, I got one question before my last question. So, how do people get in touch with you?
So most people find us by just Googling therapy services or Googling Shining Hope Farms. So
Okay.
shininghopefarms.org is our website.
And you said you service 18 counties, but do you have people coming? I mean, with your program, what you're doing and the passion about it, I would imagine you have people coming from all over, not just from North Carolina and South Carolina area. They got to be people coming from elsewhere to come see you guys.
Well, because it is weekly and it's usually pretty time bound. I mean, it's an 18-mile, it's still a large area that we serve, but the need is definitely outside. In fact, our assistant director who works remotely, and she's up in the northern part of the state, she's like, I'm so jealous. She's like, I wish I had services like this nearby.
Mm-hmm.
But she's 3 hours away. So that would be a challenge. But I've wondered, is our future that we would eventually have satellite locations, throughout the state that are able
Mm-hmm.
to serve even more in a greater way.
Or other states as well, because I mean, I have a friend who has one or had one in the Houston area, and
Mhm.
um, I can't remember what the name of the farm was, but it was out in Waller. Can't remember what the name of it was, but they had a huge arena set up. It was we had dorm rooms set up. They had all kinds of things going on. I believe they sold the facility a while back. I think they're going to open another one, but it's going to be up in East Texas, I believe. But
Mhm.
but
There's a
they're
lot out west.
yeah, but they were doing where people could come out and they could rent a room and stay there for extended period of time, and some people were there for 30, 60, 90 days to
Mhm.
do intensive. You know,
Yeah, and there are some great programs that offer inpatient. Yeah, we're strictly outpatient, but we've been asked before, do we offer it? Could we offer it? Because there is something to be said for being on site and really being in that space and staying in that space for an extended period of time.
all right. So my last question, Patrice, what do you love about life?
Um, that I get to make a difference. I think that's what we all wake up wanting to make a difference, wanting to leave our mark on this world and wanting to leave a legacy that we can be known for. And what mark did we leave? And when we're gone, did we make a difference? And I am lucky enough to be able to see the difference that I make every
Hmm.
day. I don't know
Hmm.
that we always get to see the difference we make, but I get to see the difference I'm making, and it's tangible, and I see the families we're touching and I see the lives we're changing, and there's something very rewarding about that.
Hmm. I agree. To see that, sometimes a lot of people will come into our classes with like their eyes are sucking light in, like there's like such like drains going around their eyes, and to
Mhm.
see that where they're sucking light in, to see they're starting to their eyes begin to emit light, that is the coolest. So beautiful to see that occur when they finally
Yeah,
get their own light on instead of looking, oh man, woe is me, the world sucks. It looks like water going down a drain.
yeah.
And when they reverse that, and all of a sudden their eyes begin to emit light, oh my gosh, that little spark comes on.
Mhm.
That's amazing. And I'm glad you get to see that with your clients too.
Yeah, and with their families, that I think
Yeah,
that's the big thing. When you see a mom or dad
get
see
hope.
breakthrough with their child,
Yeah.
it's just, oh my gosh. I mean, money can't buy what that, it's just such a rewarding feeling. Not only are you helping the patient, but then you're helping their family too, because if they go home and they're talking now where they were
Mhm.
nonverbal before, and it was such a source of frustration for the family,
Yeah.
you've removed that barrier, for them. And so it's not just what we do at our farms, it's the difference that it makes in their lives. And the same can be said for our veterans that go through our program. They go home and they're better parents and family members and community partners because of the difference that we have made on the farm.
Awesome. And shining hope, where's that hope begins to put that little sparkle in their eye. When somebody gets hope, they get a little sparkle.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the work you're doing and the difference you're making on the planet. And hope you continue success. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Blessings.